Good morning, Power participants. This is Ashton Dupler with the Dayton Equity Center. We might see that on my name. I'm sure you recognize my face by now, but we're so excited that even amidst a winter storm that we can still find the time and space to begin to understand what does it mean not only to operate a forklift safely, or what does it mean to begin to think about my job or my career, but what are the things that structurally help me build up my life so that it's manageable, so that I feel like I'm not just surviving, but I'm thriving. And so that is what our friends and our partners and this institution that's so rooted in this community, Fifth Third Bank, has helped us do. And you got on yesterday, did all those modules, or the day before, those modules on the e-bus about different topics. And what I'm excited about today and every Thursday is Miss Amy Gary, who you met maybe on Monday, will help us think about financial strategies, financial approaches. And so before I introduce and she's introduced and she takes you through that first piece, I want to reintroduce, if you haven't met her before, the community engagement strategist for Fifth Third Bank, Miss Maria Rutherford Long. And so please, Miss Maria, please take it away. Let us know who you are and why this is so important.
Absolutely. Ashton, thank you, thank you, thank you. We at Fifth Third Bank are really, really leaning in to financial education in our communities all over our 10-state footprint, because we've always believed that knowledge is power. And because you are the power team, we wanted to bring you some financial education that can help you along this journey. We know this is a new path and we're excited about your new path. But what we want to do is also equip you with some financial tools and information that will add to your success on this path. I want to give you a few notes. I want you to think about a few things to make this experience wonderful. So please mute your phones so that you don't have any distractions. Take good notes, get out your pen and pad, or if you have your camera, take a screenshot of the notes. All of these things will help add to your layered experience of learning. And then never, never be afraid to ask a question. All questions are good questions. At some point, Amy and I and Ashton and Kayla all had to ask questions about money. So there's no silly questions, just ask questions. And then have fun. Understand that this journey, all of us had to take, so you're not alone. And we look forward to hearing some of your testimonies and your stories about how this information helped you. Without any further ado, I want to introduce you to Amy Gary, instructor extraordinaire. She will give you a few tips on how to do what you need to do with your money, but she will also lean in and listen. She'll listen to your stories and help you adapt budgets and help you and lead you to the right information that you need to have a strong financial background. So thank you so much for joining. Fifth Third is really, really excited for you. Amy?
Yeah, well, thank you both for the great introduction. Really happy to be with you today. Sadly, not in person, but we will hopefully be there next week, pending any other snowstorms out there. But as Maria mentioned, no one's financial journey is exactly the same. Everyone has different needs, different goals, different situations. So we are here as a resource. If we don't have the answer today, we will take that question and take it to our panel of experts at Fifth Third Bank and make sure that we get some good answers to you. Also wanted to let you know a little bit about my experience with the bank. This is my favorite part of my job at Fifth Third, getting out in the community and sharing some really good financial education resources with community partners, different organizations, not-for-profits. So as we kind of tackle our introductory course today, we are going to talk a little bit about banking basics. I know you completed some modules yesterday, so some of this might be a review, but for many of you, maybe you haven't had an account for a while. maybe things have changed since you opened your account, and or maybe you didn't know about all of the different options that are out there for you in terms of help for establishing an account, and then again, working towards other financial goals. Fifth Third is here for the journey with you as the power partners. And without further ado, I'm going to turn off my camera as well and get into the meat and potato of our content. Thank you so much. And we will follow up with video at the end of the presentation. All right, so to begin today, let's get into our presentation, which, as I mentioned, is our Banking Basics course. This is our overview course that talks about different goals here about financial institutions. There is not a one size fits all for everyone. There are different types of financial institutions. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. More importantly, for many of you, as you continue through this program and get out into your jobs, thinking about different types of bank accounts. You're obviously going to need a place for your direct deposit, kind of your spend account, so to speak, to pay bills, to live, to eat, things like that. But maybe you're trying to save more money. Maybe that's one of your goals. So we'll talk about different vehicles that are out there that can help you with that type of goal too. We're also going to look at interest, how interest can help you and how interest can hurt you. So really important that you take note of that. We want to certainly help you make money and save money at Fifth Third. So let's get interest working harder for you instead of the other way around. It's also really important to understand the protections in place at financial institutions that insure your money in the event that that there is a problem with the bank. You do have some guarantees by the government that your funds are protected. And then finally, we're going to look a little bit into strategies to monitor and protect your money when you're using online banking. Online banking is wonderful. We are all pretty much attached to our cell phones nowadays, but there are some things and steps that you want to take to ensure that no one is able to access that information in the event that you lose your phone, for instance, or that you don't have a really strong password and someone else might be able to figure out how to access your information. So without further ado, let's step into our presentation. And again, as I mentioned, we are going to first start with the types of financial institutions that are out there. Think about the places that you use for your financial needs. What kind of concerns do you have about managing your money? What are your financial goals? All of these types of institutions may be a good fit for you based on the answer to those questions. We'll go ahead and start with non-banking financial institutions. And these are money service businesses. You've probably seen check cashing places, perhaps a payday lender, where businesses that they basically will cash a check or transmit money for you, maybe via Western Union, or they convert money from a paper check or a card to cash for you so you can spend it. There typically are some fees involved with non-banking financial institutions. That's how they stay in business, but they are typically very accessible. And if you don't have a bank account, or a way that a lot of people are currently using these services to get access to their paychecks. The banks, which include Fifth Third, are for-profit financial institutions that are federally licensed to receive deposits and issue loans. I should mention that banks, credit unions, and even non-banking financial institutions do go much further than that. But keep in mind, the main difference is that banks are for profit, whereas a credit union is not for profit. These are actually financial institutions that are member owned and operated. So what's nice about a credit union is that if there are any profits at the end of the year, those are typically given back to the members of the organization in terms of maybe a dividend or some extra interest on a savings account. So there are some subtle differences that are out there. Anybody have any thoughts on, and this would go to Maria and to Kayla, on why one might be better than another?
Well, I've always loved working with financial institutions and banks like Fifth Third because they have so many other additional features and products and programs that I can access depending on what my situation my financial situation was. And so I've typically worked with a a bank, and a bank is where I've always been. Kayla, any thoughts?
I have to agree with you, Maria. And I also think with credit unions, maybe you might be limited to the amount of ATMs or locations, whereas to maybe a more of a financial bank, you have more access to these types of services. So those are the two things that I can think of.
Yeah, great points, lady. You're going to be very limited and likely pay significantly higher fees at a check cashing place or a non-banking financial institution. You're going to have a lot more flexibility with the bank and or a credit union. Wonderful. Thank you for that input. So we'll go ahead and kind of do an additional comparison about some of the other services that are available at banks and credit unions. They both accept cash, checks, and wire transfer deposits. So if you've never done a wire transfer before, this is where you would basically electronically send money from one place to another. I mentioned Western Union before. That might be one that you're familiar with. They are a large wire transfer institution, but your bank can actually take care of that for you too. So if you have family that maybe lives in another country or another city, you can actually send parts of your paycheck, cash, electronically to another person or organization electronically through a wire. They obviously provide loans, which is one of the most important features of a financial institution. Traveler's checks, they don't really, we have them still, but you don't hear about them as much anymore. Foreign currency and money orders, which all of us are probably familiar with them. You can use money orders to pay bills. They're very easy if you don't have any checks. My favorite thing about banks and credit unions is just the conveniences that are out there for customers. As I mentioned before, we're going to talk about online banking and how to protect your information, but also the convenient features of online banking. Obviously, ATMs, 24-hour access, debit and credit cards. And then once you get to a point where your account is established, you can start looking at different types of interest-bearing accounts. As we talked about briefly, we want interest to work hard for you, not the other way around. The other really important thing, and this is a significant amount of money, so I want everyone to feel really confident and safe that if you're banking with Fifth Third or a credit union, you are going to have insurance levels up to $250,000 per person. So that to me helps me feel better at night as we go through pandemics and different things that our country goes through. Just knowing that you've got that peace of mind that all of your funds are going to be insured with the bank really is a positive thing. And I think, again, another reason to keep your money in a bank, because it's much safer there than certainly in your home, under a mattress, or even in a safe at home. Go ahead and move on here. So while there are some similarities, there are a lot of differences too between banks and credit unions. Banks are for-profit businesses that make money from account fees and interest from loans. That is how we stay in business. That's how we're able to have branches in multiple locations so that we're accessible to our customers. They are open to any and everyone, which is really nice. So that gives you flexibility. You can truly bank at this point with any bank that you want to in the country because they are open to anyone. So you want to go onto their websites, of course, and look at the different caveats, convenience, things like that. But again, banks are very accessible. Credit unions typically are not for profit, and they share their profit with the members / customers, as I mentioned before. Sometimes it does require specific membership and community or group to qualify. In the Dayton area, I'll give you before. So that's something that if you're considering that type of institution, you want to check for eligibility. As Kayla mentioned too, they are usually smaller and don't maybe have the access with the ATMs and or branch locations. So if you really like going into your bank and knowing who your banker is, that might be a little more challenging with a credit union. But historically, credit unions offered better interest rates and lower account fees. Margins are much smaller now for all financial institutions. So they're all a lot more competitive. So it's really important that as you're looking for that account and getting set up, that you do a little comparison, right? Make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck, the best interest rate, the lower account fees. In theory, you shouldn't be paying any account fees right now. We are here to help you be successful financially so you can focus on being successful with the Power Group and being successful in your job. So let the bank do all the heavy lifting for you. So some things to think about, similarities, differences, anything that I missed, ladies.
No, you're doing a wonderful job. I just love it.
Agreed.
Okay, yeah, again, none of this, you wanna sign up for a bank that's not going to be easily accessible for you, or the hours don't work, or they don't have an ATM. And the same would go for a credit union. Just because you might get a better interest rate if you have to drive across town to access things and needs there, it might not be practical for you to use their services. Banks are insured, as are credit unions, and banks are insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC. So when you go into Fifth Third or any other bank, you should see signage around the financial institution that reflects that insurance. Credit unions provide insurance through the National Credit Union Administration, or NCUA for short. FDIC requires banks insure accounts per customer up to $250,000. That again is great peace of mind each category. So if Maria and I had an account together, we would have $500,000 in regulatory insurance. If we added Kayla onto that too, it would increase the number even more. So please know that banks are here to protect your assets for significant amounts of money. Again, that just really is reassuring to me that we are confident and want to make sure that our customers are confident in our ability to help them protect their funds. The same does go with credit union. The NCUA is a similar dollar amount, $250,000. So your protections are guaranteed. So that should never be a barrier to you getting an account, is that concern about your money being protected. Anything else about insurance that you guys want to discuss? It's pretty self-explanatory, and you will get information from your bank about the levels and how to protect your funds at different categories too. Maria, Kayla, we're good?
We're good.
We're good.
Excellent. Yep. All right. So let's talk about the types of accounts that are covered. These are all bank and credit union depository accounts. And we'll talk a little bit later about what accounts are not covered, but this would be a checking account, or in a credit union, what they call a share draft account. If you were with us on Monday and opened an express account with Fifth Third Bank, that would also be covered under the insurance type. Certificates of deposit, or CDs, and I'm old enough that I remember when a CD was a way that you played music. They are a great way to save money, but they can also be called time deposits or credit union share certificates. Any funds that you put into these types of products would be covered through that $250,000 limit. And then obviously savings accounts or credit union share accounts, which are the same thing. All of your savings are protected under these guidelines. And then another great account type, which is called a money market deposit account. These are a little different than a traditional savings account, but they are also going to be protected. Interest-bearing checking accounts and what we call now accounts at the bank, and there are very specific types of customers and needs for those types of accounts, but they would be protected. And then this is my favorite one. If you are just getting reestablished with the bank, or maybe aren't comfortable with checks or haven't received your debit card yet, but money orders, cashier's check, anything else that you would purchase from a bank, maybe to pay rent, pay a car note, things like that, those are all covered by insurance. So lots of ways to protect the money that you want to save, as well as that money that you need to use to spend, to live, and to pay bills too. So very important that you ask about those insurance levels that are out there. But no, most of the everyday products that you're going to use are going to have that full coverage. As I mentioned, on the flip side, there are some types of products and accounts that are not covered. And this falls under what we call investments in banking world, and then safe deposit boxes. So I had mentioned earlier, it's probably not a good idea to, leave your cash for sure under a mattress or in a safe box at home. We don't even really encourage that you do that at a bank. That's a great place to maybe put important documents, birth certificates, things like that. But the safest place for your money is definitely going to be in an account with your name on it, with that insurance coverage on it. But these are investments. So if you are thinking about, maybe looking into the stock market, the every day it's going up and down, but those type of products would not be covered by this insurance. And this is where you want to get the help of a trusted advisor, someone that understands the volatility of the market and can help you find solutions that are going to be in your comfort level. Annuities and bonds are similar to stocks. They have different types of requirements, and we typically recommend that you speak with a licensed person if you have an interest in those types of accounts. If you do look into life insurance, and you may very well get an option with this when you start your job, those are typically not going to be insured either. Money market and funds that are investment funds, same thing. They're not going to have that FDIC or National Credit Union Association insurance. Treasury bills, and then again, those safe deposit boxes, even at the bank, those are there for important documents, coins, things like that. But if you put your cash in there, and we'll just say because it's a snow day today and there's a lot of ice out there that the vault freezes and they can't access the money in there, that would not be covered by FDIC. So really think about, again, what your goals are, what the protection levels are, and whether, these are the type of accounts that make more sense for your everyday banking needs. We certainly hope down the road, as we continue your financial journey, that you might have some interest in these other types of options. But that, again, is where we're going to encourage you to work with a trusted advisor to help you achieve those goals appropriately. Anything else, ladies, that I missed with insurance? There's a lot of bank products out there, aren't there?
There are. And I think that in this place in their journey, at the beginning of this journey, that I would advise checking and savings. And once you get your first paycheck, I would have already set up automatic savings accounts. And what I found so good is that I don't miss what I don't see. It will go automatically when my money is deposited in. It's taken out before I see it in my checking account, but I can look in my savings and I can see that the money is there. So that I learn to live on what's in my checking account versus all of it. And it gives me a systematic approach to saving money. And we all need to have savings because stuff happens. An emergency fund is very, very important. And Amy is going to teach you about that in one of the upcoming classes. But I wanted to point out that checking and savings is a real good idea to start on this journey with you.
Yeah, I love that, Maria. I talk very much about paying yourself first, even if it's just a few dollars here and there, getting in that habit of putting a little bit aside for you, for your, emergencies that are inevitably going to happen. that is going to make it so much easier once you get settled into your new career and are making really good money to take larger amounts to build up those accounts. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, Maria. Thank you. We'll go ahead and move on here. So I mentioned right at the beginning that interest can kind of work to help you, and or interest can hurt you. So this is just a real easy chart here. Time power of money, or the compound interest of money, or time value of money, pardon me, can help you by putting money into a savings account. So if you start, and we'll just say right here where you've got no money in your account, and you just start with $100 investment in yourself. So that could be one of the checks that you're going to get through Power Participants. You put that in there, you kind of forget about it, you leave it in a savings account. After a year, that check or that savings account might be worth $101. Now, I'm going to be clear, interest rates right now are not, fabulous, but you've got time on your hands. You've got the habit that you're developing to save the money, and you can watch it grow over time, because now in year 2, you're earning interest on $101. So your interest that you have after year 2, you might have $104, and so on until you get to 25 years. And that same dollar amount with an appropriate interest rate could be close to $100,000. I know it seems hard, you're not going to get it on a bank savings account, but if you've got it working for you in a money market or a retirement plan, and you put that money in regularly and let the interest work for you, look at how it can grow for you. It's just amazing to me that we don't pay ourselves first and let that time value of money work its magic, so to speak, through compound interest. On the flip side, if you borrow money, and that would be on a credit card, or maybe you need to buy a car, if you are only paying the interest only, or the minimum payment on your credit card, so let's just say you owe $100 on your credit card, and you're only paying $10 a month, but keep using that card. The $10 or the $100 purchase that you initially owed could end up with interest costing you a significant amount of money. So we really want money and interest to work for you, not against you. I promise you, if you are not able or haven't thought about how to pay off debt, Fifth Third has some really great resources and tools that we can work with you to make your money work harder for you. I'm all about working smarter and not harder, but in the instance of money, I want it to work harder for me, right? I want that compound interest to take my $100 and turn it into $100,000. If I'm making that contribution over 25 years, let's see how we can get that to grow. But on the flip side, if you owe on that credit card and you can't seem to get past paying that minimum payment, and you're still using the card over and over again, that purchase is going to cost you thousands and thousands more dollars than it needs to. And I always tell my children this particularly, that pizza that you bought for your friends for $20, if you don't pay it off today, or when you get your credit card statement, can end up costing you $100. Well, nobody wants to pay $100 for a piece of pizza that they, ate 6 months ago, right? So have the compound interest and the time value of money work harder for you, not the other way around by carrying debt and paying that interest. It's so important to really, again, go back to that paying yourself first and coming up with a plan with that trusted advisor. If you do have some debt, there are great strategies, and we're going to talk about them in some of our later courses that I hope you'll be really excited about, because that's one of my favorite sessions to talk about with participants. All right, moving on again to the different types of accounts. And as Maria mentioned, these are going to be the 2 most important accounts that you will ever have, your checking and your savings accounts. We want to talk to you about the different services that you get with a lot of them, interest rates if applicable, and any fees. The great news is if you're a Fifth Third customer, you're not going to pay any fees on any of these. Most financial institutions have ways that you can kind of opt out of fees, but it's going to require you asking some questions and do some research. But again, things that you might want to think about and ask with your checking account is research overdraft fees. For those of you that we set up accounts the other day, we talked to you about how, we've got at Fifth Third something called extra time right now, where if you're in our Momentum account, you've got a 24-hour grace period effectively if you have a mistake on your account or forget about a check or a gym fee that comes out and wreaks a little bit of havoc on your account. We want to do the right thing and give you time to correct that mistake. But some accounts like our Express, you don't even have the ability to overdraw it. So what peace of mind that is, knowing that you're never going to even have to think about an overdraft fee. Monthly fees. Again, right now with us, you are not incurring any fees. But if you're thinking about another institution or comparing, you want to ask, is there a monthly service fee? Is there a balance requirement in there? Are you going to earn any interest? Checking accounts typically do not have interest on them. That's not always true though, so that is a good question to ask. And then you want to see if there's any amounts that you have to put in the account to open it right away. Savings accounts, and again, I can't stress the importance, even if it's just going to be a few dollars at a time that you're able to contribute. You can move money back and forth between a checking and savings account. You can watch that compound interest grow. So you're going to want to ask about what the interest rate is while your account balance is growing. Typically, you're not going to be able to overdraft a savings account, but anything that you think might be pertinent about fees, interest rate, balance requirements, this should all be given to you in your disclosures, and you are well within your rights to ask about this. This is your account. These accounts are going to stay with you through your journey, through this program, through your career, and we're excited to have you with us through this journey. So again, checking and savings are going to be the two most popular and important accounts that you're going to start with. Moving on to special accounts, I did mention that money market accounts are out there. They're a type of savings account that offer a little bit higher interest rate than a traditional checking or savings. The difference with these is you usually have to have a higher balance to start these accounts. So something that I would certainly keep in your back pocket as you build up your traditional savings balance. Know that there are the money markets out there, and then those fabulous CDs that I talked about briefly, which basically with the CD, you are going to put a certain amount of money into an account for a certain amount of time. These run anywhere from 30 days to up to 5 years or longer. So money that you're going to put in a CD is typically money that you're not going to need right away. So we highly encourage, again, that you get a really nice emergency savings there, got a little extra to have some fun, have your checking account in order. And then if you've got some extra money, think about these other type of accounts so you can maximize that interest rate. But again, if you put funds in these type of accounts and pull it out before the term is up, there might be a penalty. So again, other questions to ask with that trusted advisor and banker that you're going to have. Thinking about types of accounts too, and when we set you guys up the other day, all of these accounts were what we call your sole ownership accounts. We didn't add a partner, a spouse, a child, a friend, a neighbor on there. Effectively on a joint account, you can have anyone that you choose to have on the account as long as they qualify. But we always recommend that you're comfortable and certain that you want that person on the account, because they are going to have access to the funds that are in there, whether they're your funds, their funds, or both of your funds. So some things to keep in mind about ownership on accounts. If you have kids, there are different accounts that are out there. You as a guardian or a custodian of the account would kind of be the person navigating the transactions, making deposits and withdrawals, but the minor actually is the owner of the account. So it would be under their social security number, and you as the guardian are just kind of there as the custodian protecting those funds. It is, again, on the minor accounts, they're jointly owned. but keep in mind that you don't want the minor to have access to the funds before they're able to responsibly manage the money. If you're trying to save maybe for a car, or for them to go to college, things like that. They're great accounts to set up when your kids are young and they might not even know about it. I've got a great story with my daughter. Every birthday that she had, we would make her take half of the money that she was getting, from grandparents or family members, and put it in a savings account. And why she didn't realize that when she was young, by the time she was old enough to drive, we were able to fortunately give her a car, but it didn't last very long. It broke down, and we were in a position where we had to get her another car. And she was distraught. And I said, don't worry, you've been saving all that money that you didn't realize all this time. And now you've got $4,000 in your savings account to put towards the car. So when she was complaining about it as a preteen, that why can't she have all her money, she was certainly grateful as a 16-year-old because she was able to get a car to drive to school and to work and whatnot. So these are great accounts to set up for your kids. And again, doesn't take a lot to fund. If you're just putting a little bit here or there, it can really make a difference over time. So just think about, again, ownership. If you want someone to be on the account with you, great. Joint ownership is available. Minor and custodial accounts, again, that is where you're going to be helping and or controlling the funds that you put into the account for someone that is under 18 years old. Ladies, anything else I'm missing on the important type of accounts or kind of ownership, the importance of including people on your accounts that are going to be responsible with you?
Absolutely. You didn't miss a thing, but I will say that I think it is important, if you're married, to have your spouses on the account, because if there's some banking needs that you may have and you're at work and it is time sensitive, your spouse or your partner can go and take care of that business for you. That is how I and my husband and I work, and I think it works best because both of us having access to that account, we get things done in a timely fashion. So that's the beauty of having.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a beauty.
I love
because
that because then, yeah, you're on the same page. You both, know what's going on, and that's about, again, having a larger conversation about financial goals and again, making sure that you're working towards the same purpose. I love that, Maria. And if you're not married, again, put a trusted person on the account with you in the event that, your car breaks down and you can't get to the bank if you need to, or heaven forbid, you have a medical issue where you're unable to handle your accounts. This way you've got a trusted person on the account, that can help you. But again, you want to make sure that that is the appropriate person if you're not married. Love that, Maria.
Absolutely.
Kayla, anything else?
Absolutely.
Make sure that you're adding as well.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to reiterate what you said about having that relationship with your banker, because all of these accounts sound great, but it needs to fit your life, right? So that's why the relationship with your banker is so important, because you might have kids. And so what does that look like? Do you want to create one savings account for one of them, or do you want to create multiples? And all of that is important to share with your banker so that they are able to best guide you and direct you to where you need to be for the future and your financial goals. So I think that's the one thing that I would add. Everyone is different, so each style is different. So I just wanted to say, talk to your banker so that they can help you with that.
And I want to add that is one of the most important relationships that I have. I may not have to talk to Rose every day, but I can pick up the phone and I can call Rose, and Rose is the bank manager closest to my house, and Rose knows my story, and Rose knows how to respond pretty quickly to whatever the request is. And that is so important, that you develop a relationship with a banker. In this case, you guys have started relationships with Amy and Jack. Don't let that go. And it doesn't mean you have to go in to ask about money all the time. You can say, I just wanted to let you know that I'm doing this. What do you think? They can be a trusted advisor. You don't always have to go in to get a product or a service, but maybe some advice. That's how you build a relationship with anyone. Bankers are no different. Just communication is the key. Just waving your hand when you walk into the branch really, really helps to build that bridge of a relationship.
Oh, I love that. And you all know where to find me and Jack too. You've got our contact information. So please reach out, share with us, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. They say stuff happens to all of us, financially speaking, every 6 months. Maybe that's getting a great new job or a promotion or a raise. But it could also be a stressful thing like purchasing a home or having a baby. Let your banker know what's going on so we can help you with that journey from a financial perspective. Great call outs. I appreciate you both so much. Thank you. All right, so let's move on here. We talked about the different types of account. So just some questions to ask yourself as you're setting these up. Who is the account for? In this case, it's going to be for all of you participating in the POWER program. And what are you going to use the account for? Is it going to be that what I like to call a spend account where I'm using it to buy groceries or to pay, you know, a rent payment or a utility payment? Or is it for that emergency savings? Y'all are probably going to laugh, but I have 3 savings accounts. I have my emergency fund, I have a slush savings fund, and then I have a, I don't know what I'm going to use it for fund. It doesn't have a lot in it, but it makes me happy when I look and see it, that if there's something that just makes me happy, or I've worked really hard to earn, then I'm going to have some money there to get it when it's ready. You can have multiple, they get all the accounts listed on your computer or on your cell phone. So it's a lot of fun. And as those balances grow, I promise you, it gets more fun. Thinking about your savings account, do you want to have access to it every time or anytime, pardon me, or would you prefer it to grow untouched? So maybe one of those certificate of deposits or money market accounts that we mentioned. If it's a savings account, do you have enough for the basic account, or do you want to look into something that earns you a little bit higher interest? So start small and work for the big stuff. The sky is the limit for all of you. It's just getting into that habit of saving a little bit, paying yourself first, and understanding the type of account that you're in so you can maximize that working for you versus the other way around. So we've got a great participant guide that Ashton is going to get to you if you don't have it already. We always like to give some real life examples here. So you will receive this along with the course, and you can take notes in it. It's got a great section for writing down your financial goals, you know, comparing different financial institutions. But let's just talk about an example here that you might have or would like to have. With Ali here. Ali has been saving for his daughter's college fund. He has about $20,000 saved with a goal to save $40,000 over time. That is a heck of a lot of money, no doubt about it. That would be hard for most people to save. But just for easy math and example, let's say that he was able to do this, but that he's been, you know, keeping his savings in a safe deposit box at a nearby financial institution. What do you think would be some other options that would work for Ali so the money is protected? As I mentioned, when we looked at the insurance screens, the safe deposit box, unfortunately, is not covered under FDIC or NCUA insurance. So maybe in this case, with that larger amount, what do you think, Maria and Kayla, maybe a money market account or a CD to grow that interest, but to also have the insurance protection? Thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Got both. Works for me.
Yeah.
Keep it short.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is
keep it out of the safe deposit box because it's not earning any. Again, I've said it once and I'll probably say it 10 more times. Make that interest work hard for you. And that's a good deal of money. If he gets that into he or she gets that into an account that's working harder for them, you've got a much better chance growing that $20,000 to $40,000 in time to put that child through college. So
Yeah.
great call out. Make that work harder and make sure you've got that insurance protection. So then another thought that, Ollie or Allie has saved that 20,000, but is still short of that $40,000 goal for the daughter's college fund. So he or she is thinking about taking out a loan for the remaining $20,000. So the bank has offered two different options, a loan at 5% interest for 5 years, or a loan at 5% interest for 2 years. So let's just take a quick look at these two options. And as I mentioned, if you're borrowing money, this is when interest can work against you, right? The interest rate in and of itself is the same and actually not bad at all. If you could get a 5% rate on what we would call a personal loan at Fifth Third, that's actually a pretty good rate. But I want you to pay attention to the term. So you're going to have a lower payment on that loan if you take it out for 5 years. But look at that interest that you're going to pay. That's a lot of money. So you're going to pay $25,525.63 to borrow 20 years. Your payment every month is going to be a little bit higher, but look at that. It's less than half of the difference there. So on that same $20,000, you're only going to pay $22,050. So this is a case where you really want to make sure that you're doing some comparison when you're borrowing money. For Ollie, it might be easy for him to make a larger payment and he wants to pay less interest. But for his situation, maybe he needs a lower payment and is willing to pay that $5,000 so he gets to the goal to fund college. It's all about choice, folks, here. This choice might work really well for Caleb, but this choice might work better for Maria. The choice for me might be to just suck it up and keep saving the money and not borrow at all. But again, keep in mind, nobody's journey is going to be the same. And in this instance, when you're borrowing, that interest rate is working against you. Instead of earning that 5% on the money, you're paying that 5%. I hope that makes sense to all of you. So again, this is where knowing your banker, running the numbers with your banker and finding the best option for you is going to make so much sense on the lending piece, especially. So some things to consider that you're going to need when you open an account. I know we helped some of you on Monday, but if you do stop by a Fifth Third, just let them know you're with the Dayton Equity Center and they're going to be able to do all of this for you at the banking center. But you're going to want to bring some identification with you. Typically, that would be a driver's license, state ID, if you've got a passport. We don't typically ask for social security card, but if you've got it, great. We do run all of your information just through a verification system to make sure that there's no fraud on your account, particularly if you've got a very common name. Oftentimes we have found that sometimes people's information can get mingled. So it's just a protection factor out there to make sure that this is going to be your account and your account only, and that your information is not mixed with any others. You're going to need to obviously give us your address, phone number, email address so we can get in touch with you. And if you want to order checks, we can handle that for you. Most people want to get a debit card right now, and I'm just going to throw in a Who Day plug right now because we are the bank of the Bengals and we're going to the Super Bowl, and you can get a Bengals debit card if you choose to. So kind of exciting, and any type, there's all kinds of really pretty debit cards actually. You can get them with beach scenes or just a plain one, or we've got other teams that the bank sponsors. So again, talk to your banker and get a card that is going to make you happy to use. When you go, make sure that you've got your check, or if we've set you up for direct deposit, you don't even have to worry about that check. So keep in mind, other financial institutions might require that you put a minimum in there, but working through this program, you are all set with just that personal information and an ID. And then finally, if you decide you want to add an additional account for, again, children, minors, custodial accounts, we will need that information for them as well. It's a pretty easy process. It takes about 20 minutes to work through the paperwork at the branch. But the beauty of doing it either in person, through the Power Participant Program or with us at the bank is that we're going to ask you some questions because we do want to know what your goals are, and we're going to work really hard to help you achieve those goals. It's a two-way street though, so we need you to be forthcoming with us, and then we're going to come up with solutions to help you get where you want to be. Last but certainly not least this morning, I want to talk about online banking. Again, we are attached to our cell phones. I cover, but accessibility, ease, it's just be able to, pull up where you want, make a transfer. Definitely want you to.
Amy, I think we've lost you.
You maybe would be figure that out and is not, up being forthcoming. But also if a stranger gets a hold of your information, they're not going to be able to figure it out. Don't ever use like a PIN number 1, 2, 3, 4, for instance, that they don't even let you do it anymore because of the security aspects of it. But come up with a secure password that's a combination of numbers, letters, uppercase, lowercase, and then a symbol. Don't write that password down and leave it somewhere where anyone can find it and have access. And then think about if you do use public computers, just make sure that the website is secure. Right here in the middle where it says HTTP, it's a colon and then the 2 slashes. If it has the S on it, that is going to be the secured socket layers is what that means. So make sure if you're, out at a Starbucks, for instance, or a McDonald's, and you get on a public computer, probably not a good idea to pull up your bank account information on them. But if you do, just guarantee that you've got that protected website. Finally, want to let you know that all reputable financial institutions, creditors, they're not going to reach out to you over phone or email and ask for your personal information. If you get emails that look like they came from your financial institution, or someone leaves a threatening message, if you don't call back and give us your account number, we're going to block your card. Please call the number on the back of your debit card. That is the line to the financial institution. You can verify that directly through them. Don't respond to those messages. It is likely fraud, and we don't want your accounts compromised for any reason at all. So it's a convenience to have it. And believe me, Fifth Thirds I know is best in class for security and protection, and just really neat things that you can do on it for making your financial life a lot easier. But always want to just remind you that it is your information, so protect it to the best of your ability. Anything else, Maria, Kayla, that I missed on online banking or for anything for that matter?
You have been a magnificent teacher. We are down to 3 minutes left, and you have covered a great
deal of so we won't go over this information here, but these safety and security scenarios are in your participant guide that you will receive from Ashton. So look those over and maybe think about if this, fits you, if you're easily disorganized, or if your security questions are real easy, your kids' names, the street you grow up on. Just think about ways to maybe change those so that you don't forget them, of course, but so that you can keep everything protected. In summary here, and I'm going to go through this real quick so we can close out. If you do borrow money, you're going to pay interest, but if you are saving money, you're going to earn interest. So make that money work harder for you. Keep in mind that your financial institutions have a lot of differences and similarities. So do some comparing, find someone that you're comfortable with and a banker that you really have a good relationship with. And then finally, the different types of bank accounts can help you meet different goals. That is what we are here for. We are here to answer questions and help you on that financial journey as you continue through the program. I am going to end on that and turn it back over to Maria to close us out.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Absolutely wonderful information that our instructor Amy has given us. Give her a hand. I look forward, Amy and I look forward to being with you next week. Hopefully it's in person. And we want you to ask questions. Please leave the questions with Ashton so that we can address them in the next class. And there'll be more information about online practices, because we want to make sure that you protect your money. You do your part to protect your money. We'll do our part to protect your money. This has been an incredible beginning to this journey that we have with you. And we are looking so forward to being with you next week. I got some incentives next week. If you participate next week, we've got some $25 gift cards to give out. So don't miss it. We look forward to seeing you soon. Kathy, I believe you're with the Dayton Equity Center. Are you going to share with them the next set of instructions? Or Ashton's there. Hi.
Thank you so much to all of you for helping us really understand those differences, for guiding us into a number of different conversations, and for beginning to help us think about that. I mean, I know as you were talking that I really didn't understand when I started out the value of the investment that I could make. And, you know, I don't know where your money's at, whoever you are. I don't really care where your money's at, but why not have your money work for you? I used to have a side hustle with landscape, and I'd have $1,800 in my Cash App at one time, and I would leave it there. And now, you know, years later, I realized, oh, if I had just put that in my bank account, I could have gotten some money back on that. But instead, it was sitting in a financial institution that wasn't insured. So if my account got hacked or someone sent that money or took that money or something happened, then I wouldn't, that's gone. But if you're in an FDIC insured institution like Fifth Third Bank, wink, wink, hint, hint, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So those kind of practical things, maybe, you know, all of these different terms, they're also new, but thank you for helping us recognize, Ms. Maria and Ms. Amy, how much we can really benefit from the variety of options that a bank can provide. So we're really excited for the next couple of sessions as we dive deeper into what we can do to really get the most out of our money. So thank you both. Thank you all, Ms. Kayla as well, so much for guiding us through that conversation this morning.
It's been our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'm hoping for that $25 gift card. I didn't know that was happening.
Bye-bye.
I'll be participating. Don't worry.
Okay, okay. Well,
Thank
we'll
you
talk.
so
We'll
much.
see y'all next week.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Okay, that was a lot of information. You may want to pause. You may want to take a moment to collect yourself, to write down some notes that you might have had. But in the meantime, while you're doing that, or while you're taking a quick break, you can pause this video, obviously, and you may want to look back at the questions we have from today. I know that there's going to be at least 1 or 2 questions that will be related to that content. So if you miss something, if you look on the questions you'll get via email or text, you may want to look and jot down your answer to that. You can go back in the video if you miss something. You can skim back over it. This is your chance to do that. I want to make sure you get full credit and make sure that you get paid for this session and get all the content that you need to be successful, not just for me or for my sake, but for your sake. So go ahead and do that if you need to. And then, you know, I'm excited to introduce to you someone who you might have seen before, who you might have seen on Sunday morning, if you were here with us, or who you might know personally. I don't know, but she is a pillar of the institutions, both of McKinley United Methodist Church and at the Dayton Equity Center. Dr. Kathy Taylor, retired psychologist, someone who has not only blessed my life, but helped me think on a number of different levels about what my well-being looks like in my workplace. So I am excited. Some of you signed up for appointments today about a number of different things. And we want to help you with all of those different things as best we can. But I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kathy to just introduce herself, to talk to you a little bit about some psychological safety or some ideas about maybe that you need to think through before you get into your workplace. And so, Dr. Kathy, feel free to take as long as you want. We'll talk through these points and then continue on with today's content and materials. So if you do, just go ahead right where you are. Doesn't matter. You can clap for Dr. Kathy. People will look at you funny maybe if they're there, but you give Dr. Kathy a round of applause wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashton. And thank you for that round of applause that I'm sure all of you are giving to me right now. As Ashton said, I am a retired school psychologist. I retired for the last time from Dayton Public Schools in 2019, but I remain interested and very committed to all things mental health. It's just something that's always been important to me. And we know that many times when people are in the workplace, it isn't the skills that they're hired to do or the tasks that they're hired to do that ends up causing a problem in terms of job loss. We know that all of you are very intelligent, so we know that you can be taught a skill. And just as you're learning those skills to learn how to drive a forklift, social emotional intelligence are skills. You can learn to manage your emotions, and it is a skill that can be taught. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today. One of those concepts in terms of learning how to manage emotions is something that we as psychologists call reframing. That would be R-E-F-R-A-M-E, reframe. Learn how to reframe. And all that means is taking a situation that may be negative and that's causing you stress and learning how to turn that situation around into a positive and so that it does not cause you stress anymore. And it's just all about perspective and how you're looking at the situation. I'll give you an example. Suppose you're driving into work one day, you're running late, so that's already a stress right there. And as you're getting, to approach where you're going, there's a funeral procession. Might be 10 cars, could be 40 cars, and you're thinking, this is all I need. I'm already late. Now I have to sit here and wait for all these cars to pass me. The way to reframe that, you can, as you feel the stress rising in your body and wherever you carry that stress, you can actually feel it. But a way to get rid of some of that is it might be a bad day for me right now because I'm going to be late for work, and that's a problem. But the people that are riding in that procession, this is probably one of the worst days of their life. So you turn the focus onto them and away from yourself. I don't know what your religious beliefs are or if you have any beliefs. In my own belief system, I would just pause and say, Lord, take care of those people in those cars right now. Help them, comfort them, help the family to turn towards each other and not against each other. Anything I can say that's positive. If you, your own belief is non-religious, then you could just say, the universe, I'm sending positive thoughts towards everyone in those cars right now. Just help them to get through this very difficult day. And as you do that, you will find the stress level starts to leave. For me, I know I tend to carry stress and tension in my shoulders and my neck. When I reframe things, I can actually feel the tension leaving. So that's what I want to kind of leave you with that thought, to think about turning a situation that you are stressed about, looking at it in a different way, and seeing if that is something that helps you to release that stress and tension from your life. Because as I said, when you get into the workforce, suppose you don't do that and you're stressed and you're in that same funeral, in that same situation that I just described, and you are not able to do that. And as the cars pass and each one, the procession gets longer and longer, you're getting angrier and angrier. Then by the time you get to work, you're very upset. And someone says something to you that typically you might just let it go. But on this day, because you're super stressed, you end up saying something that you shouldn't, or you say it in a way that you shouldn't, and you end up with a write-up. And then you get write-up number 2. write up number 3, and then, you end up having a long-term consequence for something that just didn't need to be. So that's what I want to leave you with. I understand you're going to have some questions that may be sent to you about the sessions for today. And so for me, I just want you to remember 2 things, and that is that social emotional skills can be taught. It is a skill set that can be learned. And the second one is the concept of reframing. Rethink what you're doing, look at it in a different perspective, and see if that is something that helps you and benefits you in terms of social emotional skills. We want to just kind of get you to build those skills and build your social emotional muscles as you go through this program. And so I hope that I'll be seeing some of you individually, and I look forward to meeting you when I do. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ashton now, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Kathy, so much. We really appreciate you just walking us through what does it mean for us to think about how do we approach these different new situations and new circumstances. I know from personal experience, and you know from personal experience, everybody does, that new situations, new spaces, new routines are stressful. They come with all kinds of new stress. How do I get to work on time? Just as you said, and then something gets in your way, even though you've done everything you can to make sure you're there on time. And how do you approach that situation determines not only your joy, but your well-being and the benefit of those and the safety of yourself and those around you. So I'm going to share this slide with the class real quick. Because this is one of our questions for today. What is this tool that we've talked about? What's it called? And so if you would, you're welcome to scroll back through to go ahead and remind yourself about this mental safety tool, this psychological tool that Dr. Kathy's given us of reframing is taking a negative situation, placing it in a new positive perspective, and it allows us to rethink what we're doing. What are we in the middle of that we can begin to shift? Thank you for this, Dr. Kathy. This will be one of the questions for today. So feel free to scroll back through if you need to answer that better. We're looking forward to not only talking to you and seeing you in the future, but beginning to get better about how we approach not just our work environments, but every environment that we set forth. So thank you, Dr. Kathy.
Thank you.
You bet. Take care.
You too.
So that is kind of the 2 different elements that we're going to be kind of colliding and combining today that'll help us begin to think about how to better understand ourselves in the workplace. Now, I want to talk about some forklift safety and workplace specific kind of elements. But again, every time we do a section, this is a time to take notes. What did we just learn about? Get out your binder, a notepad that you may have. There's a notes app on your phone. Put that reframe tool down. Write that down. Go back and scroll back in the video. Look back over that definition. Think about a situation or a circumstance maybe you've experienced in the past week where you can begin to think about that differently. And beyond that, I'm going to let you know what we're going to do over the next kind of about 45 minutes in our time together. I want to talk a little bit about safety, safety in the workplace. We talked about driving yesterday. We talked about cornering and turning and stability and capacity. I want to talk a little bit more about driving before Tuesday comes around. Monday's a big application day. We're going to have a lot to do on Monday. But I want to begin to think, how do you and I begin to think about what it means to drive in a forklift operating facility? There might be, like in my work at FedEx, there was hundreds of forklifts sometimes at a time operating in that space. Sometimes you're going to be the only forklift operator out there on the dock. But how do you begin to think about your driving safety and well-being? So this is a great time to pause the video, take notes, get a drink of water, think about it, take a walk. Don't feel like you got to watch this whole thing at one time. You can come back and watch it later. And then we'll have 2 more questions that you'll need to answer from the next portion of the video. So take a break and take a breath right now. Thank you. The next thing that we're going to begin to think about is safety in driving, your field of vision, not only for you as an operator of a forklift, but as someone who's going to operate in facilities with forklifts, because you need to be just as aware of the dangers if you're on or if you're off a forklift. We talked yesterday again about cornering, driving, your stability and your capacity. And now I want to continue that conversation by watching a safety video. Every Thursday, we're going to watch a safety video of an incident or an accident. We're going to have some examples that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to have some discussion. Now today, we won't get that discussion piece down pat. But beyond that, I want you to see, to begin to think about what it would be like for you personally to be in a workspace. Watch this video with me. And I want you to begin to note as many things as you can about what went wrong, what happened, what didn't go as planned, what was wrong, what did the driver do wrong, what did the pedestrians do wrong? How can you avoid a situation like this? Watch this video. Let me know what you think. Now, maybe take a moment, write down what you think went wrong. Everything. What did the driver do wrong? What did the pedestrians do wrong? What did the supervisor do wrong? Go ahead, write that down. Maybe make sure to take a look at your notes that you might have taken. here are some things that I noticed, and you probably noticed more or different things or would describe them differently. But first of all, the guy's rushing. He's driving at speeds that maybe are acceptable, but not for those tight corners and for those blind spots where folks could be doing other work or other jobs in between that level. His supervisor is pushing him to go faster and hurry up and get there. So his supervisor isn't really thinking about safety first. He's thinking about the company's needs to get production done. The pedestrians didn't stop to listen, to look, and to make sure that they could walk around that corner and not just bound around it like they did. The driver is busy looking at everything else but the road. He's thinking about maybe something else on his mind. And beyond that, his forks are up. If you look at the video before, he backs out, his forks are up in the air. And who knows what would have prevented that accident, what would actually caused that accident. There's no real way to tell who's to blame, right? But the point is, just what he said, that fork trucks were not initially designed to be vehicles. They're not there to transport people or hardly objects in the beginning. They were there designed to move heavy stuff up and down and around in a stationary kind of position. But now with the different attachments that you might have in a facility, we have long forks that I've used before and different attachments that not only obstruct your field of vision, but are bigger and clunkier and require you to be mindful of how you're traveling. So with that being said, what are you gonna do every time you get on your lift? Every time you get on your lift, you're gonna monitor the attachments that you have and think about, how do I safely travel with the attachment or with the load that I have? If the load is too high and I can't see in front of me, I've got to turn it around and back it up. If I can't see out the sides of my windows, if I am obstructed because the mast is too high, I can't drive it forward, even if it'd be easier, because I got to think about safety and the safety of other people. If I'm a pedestrian walking in a facility with forklifts, doesn't mean that folks are going to see me. So I'm going to make sure to not only be loud myself, but to look and to listen. You got on that forklift probably the other day, especially those electric forklifts. They travel pretty much just as fast as the internal combustion. They're so quiet. And so you have to be careful that you're not going to get run over just because you didn't hear someone coming in your normal kind of processing of your surroundings. You may not hear your buddy or your fellow employee driving that forklift down the other aisle. So every time, whether you're a pedestrian or whether you are a fork truck operator, you're going to stop, look, and listen for forklifts, for other pedestrians, because the last thing you want to do is end up hurting, maiming, killing one of your coworkers, yourself included. We have to be very, very mindful when we're working in these facilities that there are production speeds and rates, that there are demands that are put on you and demands that are put on supervisors. There are demands that are put on production that are going to cause you to want to go faster, to want to push harder. But you need to, first of all, be safe. The supervisor was totally in the wrong for pushing him to go faster and quicker than was safely possible. And it resulted in the accident. He was too distracted and didn't stand up for himself and say, I need to travel. I'm going to take about 10 minutes to get to you. You'll notice that he said goodbye to his friend Peter in the beginning. And that's always a good practice, to let people know that you're leaving or you're going another direction. Just because you just turned the forklift on or you sounded your horn doesn't mean that people know where you're going. Communicate. It's just like football, basketball, soccer, any sport. You got to communicate to be successful. So how are you, when you get out there on that dock, and when we get out there on Tuesday, how are you going to communicate? I'm traveling backwards. Hey, I'm going forward. Wait, I'm at an intersection. Better beat my horn. Wait, I'm walking, and there might be someone coming along. Maybe I just get this way now because I go to grocery stores. I hate people because they just go around the corner. They just drive wherever they want with their carts. They push into you accidentally. They just pull out in front of you, and you have to stop. Now imagine if you were driving a 2-ton vehicle with a ton load on your forks, and you did that just like they do in supermarkets and grocery stores. You would not only spill the load or spill yourself, you would hurt, maim, maybe even kill the other person, because unlike you and your shopping cart, forklifts with loads on them don't have stopping distances that would adequately allow for that type of traffic and movement. So maybe when you're at the grocery store, get in the habit of stopping around each aisle before you turn in, looking and listening. Now, it might seem dumb and you may say, I'm not going to do that, but it's just one way to get your brain ready to operate in a forklift environment like that safely. So that's our biggest piece today. We would have a discussion about this. I'm going to bring up an example here in just a minute of a forklift case, and we'll talk through that. But I wanted to, first and foremost, talk about safe driving before we get out there on Tuesday. So whatever you need to start doing, to think about, what do I need to do every time I get on a lift and every time I work around lifts, to say, hey, I'm here and I'm watching out for other people on the dock. Thanks. Now take a minute, write down whatever notes you need to do, take a breath, and we'll be back in just a second. We've got 2 more sessions to cover today. Shouldn't take us too long, but I want to make sure that we really cover this idea of driving safely before we get out there on Tuesday. So I'm about to share on this screen. You're going to see one of our PowerPoints, and there's going to be a case study we'll look at right now. Excuse me. In Florida, a 17-year-old worker was killed while operating a forklift. He made a right turn too sharply, which resulted in the vehicle overturning. His head was caught between the overhead guard and the ground, and he was crushed. Horrible instance and circumstance. There's a number of different examples of accidents that we can find in our manuals, and every Thursday we'll talk about this kind of safety aspect. So the result of that investigation found the employee had not been trained on forklift operation. The vehicle was not fitted with a proper operator restraint system. So, whether that's a seat belt or that's a guard, or if it's like ours, where anytime, the one we did on Tuesday, anytime you move from that, the vehicle will stop. This one was not fitted with any kind of restraint system. The vehicle had a passenger that was not designed for, and the operator was under the legal age required to operate a forklift. You have to be 18 years or older to drive a forklift. And it says, notice how the seat was not secured to the vehicle and is missing a seat belt. So here's a picture of that tow motor right there. You see the seat is detached and on the ground. And so clearly in this instance, a number of things went wrong. And a number of things can go wrong anytime, but clearly there was negligence, not only on the part of the driver, there was negligence on the part of the company for not having the restraint systems in place. And that's why we began this on Monday and Tuesday, talking about not only the parts of the forklift, but what parts you should be checking for every day, every time you get on a forklift for your shift. Make sure that there's a seatbelt there. Make sure it's operable. Make sure that your forklift, everything's attached, including the overhead guard. Make sure that you can operate the forklift properly that day. If you've been under the influence of drugs or alcohol for whatever reason, you should not be operating heavy equipment. And you don't have to be a genius to know that. Most of this stuff is common sense, but it's common sense in a very, very dangerous environment. And so in that case, we want to always make sure that we're following the powered industrial truck regulations. This applies to fork trucks, tractors, platform lift trucks, motorized hand trucks, and other specialized industrial trucks. And so this is the OSHA regulation that 29 CFR 1910.178 contains all the rules and regulations that employers must comply with for operating powered industrial trucks, or PIT. And these are the training requirements. No one is allowed to drive powered industrial trucks until they've been trained and certified by the employer. That's why yesterday you heard Anya say that they have to recertify you. That's just because that OSHA requires that everyone, even if you've had 15 years of experience, requires to be certified by each employer that they're employed by. Drivers must be at least 18 years old, and trainees must be supervised at all times while operating and must be in the area that does not put other employees in danger. That's why we were out in the open at the food bank. It's why I'm always there and Miss Q is always there, because we want to make sure that you have someone there who can tell you what's happening with your lift if anything should go wrong. Forklift trainers must have the knowledge, training, and experience to train operators and evaluate their competence. Some of you asked how long I've been operating a vehicle or if I've had experience before. I have had and studied these forklift operator rules and regulations. And so hopefully, you know, as you pass this through and pass the evaluation, I'll be able to help you alongside with that. And training must include formal instruction, which is what we're doing right now, hands-on practical training, which is what we do on Tuesdays, and operator performance evaluation. That'll be Tuesday, February 22nd. Make sure you're there that day. And you might be retrained. Forklift operators must be retrained when the driver has been observed operating unsafely, the operator is involved in an accident or a near miss, the operator receives a poor operational evaluation, the operator is assigned to drive a different type of forklift. And there is a change in workplace conditions that may affect safe operation of the vehicle. So forklift operators must be evaluated and certified at least every 3 years. That could be within your company. Your company might send you out to a place like Miami Valley Industrial Trucks. They might send you out to a place like us, and you might get certified, but your employer has to initiate and accept that certification and that recertification. I had to get recertified once when I was at FedEx. I accidentally went to go slide into a skid and grab something, didn't realize that my forks had gone all the way through, and I punctured a thing of paint. And so that paint was, of course, I'm sorry, not paint, it was actually stuff that we sent to Green Tokai, a company some of you might be familiar with. It was Loctite. So there was all this Loctite all over the floor. When you're operating, there might be freight on the floor, there might be freight around you, and you might bump into something, and that might cause you to get recertified. It's not a shame thing. Accidents happen. You're operating a giant vehicle, but you want to be mindful that that's going to require you to do this, not this length of training again, but a certain amount of training, maybe 4 hours or 8 hours, depending on your employer. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today in terms of forklift safety. And we'll talk more about the basics. We already have in some circumstances, and we'll begin to really learn how to operate this thing on a broader scale on Monday and Tuesday. So now I'm going to turn it over and actually begin to help us think about getting ready for Monday. Monday's a big day. Please be there, 8:30 a.m. We will have a number of different things that we need to get done on that day. And I want to show you right now what that schedule is going to look like for Monday. We already kind of previewed it, but I want to make sure that you kind of have a good understanding of what we'll be doing and taking on that day. So let me begin to show you that. Okay. Gotta love technology. All right. I want you to see here, the blue screen there in section is Monday the 7th. What will be happening? You'll come in as usual, 8:30 a.m. We'll talk about workplace safety and kind of operating around other hazards in the building. We'll talk about exiting and entering a forklift, and we'll talk about the peak assessment questions and the assessment memory test. We already kind of spoke about this earlier. I'll go over it again because I want to make sure you're all set to go for our 11 o'clock session. And we'll talk a little bit today. Every Thursday, you'll have an opportunity to apply for whatever you need to apply for. Maybe it's expungement, maybe it's housing. Maybe you need to go talk to your case manager. Maybe you need to go get something ready for your transportation. Maybe you need to work on your license. I don't know, but that'll be the space for you to do that, along with some simulation opportunities. Like today, typically we'd rotate and you might have a meeting with Dr. Kathy, whom you saw earlier. You might also have the opportunity to sign up for about 30-minute session to get on the simulator and begin to work with that. Those will be coming in this week, and we hope to have those set up for you and ready to go. So as we begin to talk about that, we'll also have some sessions designed to help you design your resume. Your homework for this week was already sent to you by Anya. Anya let you know that you need to begin to think about how to write your resume and get ready for those mock interviews coming up. So what we're going to do is that if you want, these are optional, but we'd like you to participate in our rapid hire event. What that'll mean is that whether or not at 11 or 11:30 that you're accepted based on your assessment to the interview with Procter & Gamble, those people at Procter & Gamble will be here to interview you anyway, which means not only that you get a second chance, but that you get the chance to practice being interviewed and get your resume ready. And so what we'll do, and we'll transition to here in a minute, is how to begin to think about that. I want to show you something that you can begin to get prepared for in terms of that assessment. Now, I know that we have previously talked about the peak assessment. Anya talked a little bit about it. I want to talk a little bit about it again. Personal questions, scenarios, workplace habits, focus tests. Make sure you're putting your best foot forward. We already kind of talked about the mental safety tool. I want to reiterate again. That will be a question on our test for today. But here are some questions that we already went over yesterday. These kinds of things will be asked of you during the assessment. I'm not asking you to memorize your answer, know your answer, but I want you to be able to see what this looks like. I'm going to send you this PowerPoint, and then after you answer those questions, you'll have to recall with a memory test what these dots are. We already spoke about this yesterday. You have to answer questions like, is this symmetrical? Symmetrical means, does it match on each side? The answer for this one is yes. Now, is this symmetrical? No, because it doesn't match on each side. So you would answer no. And in between asking these questions and showing you the dots, there'll be these questions that you have to answer. Is this rotated but identical? The answer is no. Is this shape plus this shape equal this shape? Is that correct or no? The answer is yes. Is this shape minus this shape equal to that final shape down there, that third shape? The answer is no. So while you're being shown dots in a certain order, you'll be answering these questions. And then it'll ask you to recall what order the dots are in, and you'll have to put 1, 2, 3, or 4 based on each dot and what order it was shown to you. Now, there's a great game that I want to show you that can help you. I'm going to send you the link for it. You're welcome to practice it. It's called, hold on one second. Let me stop sharing and make sure I can pull this up. There's a website called improvememory.org. You can play this game on your phone, or you can play it on the desktop that you might have. And at this website, you can go to this game. It's called Blink. And here I'm going to share my screen again to show you what that looks like. This will help you prepare for the memory part of that assessment. What you do is that you have to type what order each of these show up in. As you can see, each of these has a different blink pattern. And I messed up. But that just gets you in the habit of finding out and understanding how you can operate and work well in this assessment. Now, I'm going to send you that PowerPoint with all those questions. I'm going to send you the link to play that game. You're welcome over the weekend to take time to practice those questions, to look over them, to practice that game, to prepare for this assessment and to write your resume. So that's what we're going to turn to next. Now, Anya gave you some great activities, and I just want to go over the same basic information. Some of you already have a resume, so you're kind of like, I'm done, thanks. That's okay. You can always improve your resume, And I want you to know that in our training material guide that you have both that you can take home or you can leave it at our site and work on it there. We're going to have some time on Monday in between the mock interviews at 3 and when we wrap up about noon, 12:30, for you to not only, we hope we can get you some safety shoes that day, we also hope that we can help you begin to get some stuff from our food pantry. So Tia, myself, or Miss Janice will take you on a tour of our food pantry, and based on what you signed up for, you'll be able to get those items that you signed up for last week. And you can also, if you haven't signed up, it's okay. We'll take care of you on Monday and help you walk through that. So I want to continue to reiterate that we are here to help. Doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you need food. Maybe you need expungement. Maybe you need some psychological safety action plans. Maybe you need to begin to think about, how do I reframe this situation? And maybe you need to get your resume together. So today I want to talk a little bit about resume development. I'm going to show you, I have about 4 different resumes because I've done, if you're like me, I've done landscaping, I've done construction, I've done teaching, I've done a number of different things, and I'm only 25. So I'm sure you've done a few things too. And based on the job that you're applying for, you may want to construct a different resume. Now, I'm sure it's hard for me to fit what I've done in my life on 1, 2 pieces of paper. I'm sure it's hard for you to fit it on there too. But you can find a way to look at the jobs you're applying for as a forklift operator and look at the skills that you have, those skills that we were talking about yesterday, and think, how do I construct that into something, excuse me, that makes sense for me? I'm going to share with you one of my resumes here. As you can see, some of my personal information's here. I want you to look at this career objective that I have. This is when I was looking for construction jobs about 3 years ago. I said, driven and dependable team member seeking a part-time position that offers an active and collaborative work environment. I'm already telling them who I am. I'm a dependable team member. I'm going to show up on time for you. I want something that's part-time, but I also want an active and collaborative work environment. It's okay to state what you want, as long as when you state what you want, you're telling them that you're not only the best candidate for that job, you're an incredible team member and a reliable and dependable person. So use the skills in leadership, in teaching classes, in caring for other people, in thinking about safety, or in thinking about operating a vehicle, being a fast learner, as Mr. Webb stated last week. How do you say that in your career objective? You might want to talk about relevant experience. I said these positions develop my organizational skills, allowing me to learn to multitask, work effectively on a team, and foster attention to detail. Talk about my time at FedEx Freight. I talk about my time at Mays Home Improvement. I said I cooperated with other members to hang drywall, siding, lay tile, perform carpentry work, gut and demolish, load trailers for dumping, as well as paint interiors and exterior structures. And I talk about my role as in construction and maintenance. Here I listed my job, what time, where it's at. And then I've talked about my general experience. Where was I during my education? I got my bachelor's. I did stuff in the community. So as you begin to think about what are some of my skills, what are the activities that I've done in my past, not just where have I worked, but who have I been? How have I showed up? What's my why? As one of our team members shared yesterday, Miss Anya, what's my why? Why am I here? And so as you begin to think of those things, there are a number of different things that you can do. There are in our handbook activity sheets for you to list the activities that you have and describe yourself. I'm going to show you here real quick the different ways in which you might, well, there it is. You might begin to think about your resume. Now, this is from my university where I was part of the student success team, and we talked about resume writing. So there's all of this information on how to write your resume. Here are the top 10 personal qualities and skills employers seek. Leadership, the ability to work on a team, communication skill. And if you remember, I said all these things without being prideful without lying, but and while stating what I wanted, right? But I was able to say that I have a strong work ethic. I'm going to show up on time. I can problem solve. I have skills in analyzing the situation and making decisions. I have initiative. I have computer skills. There are a number of different things that you maybe just think are normal or just things that you do that are very valuable to employers. So whether it's applying for a job as a forklift operator or a warehouse associate, you want to put your best foot forward and talk up things that may not even be so bright. Just like Sean was saying the other day, when you begin to think about your time in prison, is there something that you did in prison that would actually be a leadership skill? Did you work on personal development? Did you read X number of books? How can you turn that into saying, I've studied how best to operate in this facility because I know myself very well, and I've done it because here, here, and here. So as you begin to document your experiences, you can look at how to take stock of your involvement in clubs and organizations, in jobs and internships, with academic experience, volunteer experience, organized sports. Those are all applicable to your experience. If people have seen that you've played on a team before and won, that's what they want to do. As a company, they want to win and they need a team. And you, if you're a team player or a team leader, that's what they're looking for. As Rudy said yesterday, awards, honors, special achievements. If you've received a certificate from anywhere, put that down. Important activities like organized a basement band or hunger symposium participant. If you've participated in something that looks good, that it shows you're a productive citizen and someone who's giving back out of your time, it's going to be huge. So here, it allows you, and this is inside of our manual in the back, is all resume development stuff. List clubs and organizations, jobs and internships, academic experience, volunteer experience, organized sports, all of that stuff we just talked about. And then you want to fill in the details. We're gonna want to give examples of what it means to be a student organizer, and then you're going to describe the activity, just as I did for mine. You assessed interest of student community to provide activities through questionnaires and regular solicitation for suggestions. That's a great way to take something that is very broad, like student organization. You might have been a team lead on your job, but how do you turn that not just into, I held a job for X number of times, but I was a leader in that job and I did these functions. And so what I want to turn to next is that you can describe your activities, but I want to show you there are at the end here a lot of different, where is it? They give you a set of words. Here it is. Here are some resume power words. Accommodated, accomplished, achieved, acted, activated, adapted, administered, created. You can see that there are all kinds of different words that can help you begin to think about how to describe what you've done. And you can see that they're all verbs, which means that they're all actions that you've taken. But companies want to know, what actions have you taken? What initiative do you have? What's your why? Why do you get up in the morning? What makes you so great? You can say, I investigated this problem in my work environment and was able to problem solve for it. I reduced and this can be stuff from Meyer or McDonald's. I reduced the amount of waste that we had, or I was able to produce orders faster than anyone else on my floor. Those are valuable skills and things you want to highlight in your resume. Now, here's another example of a resume that you can begin to use. Again, here at the top, you're going to put your name and your information so that they can get a hold of you. You're going to put a summary of your qualifications, maybe. What gives you the qualification or the right to have this job? And sure, you're not going to be able to say, well, I was a forklift driver before. But what have you done to think about multitasking, to think about safety, to think about processes, and being not only safe in an environment, but efficient? How do you say that using your previous experience? You may want to put your education. If you have a GED, if you've gone to and graduated from high school, if you have an associate degree, a certificate, a bachelor's degree even, put that information down so people know how far you've come, and because that shows your dedication to education and to learning, and that's what companies want to see. Your work experience, and it doesn't matter if it's been an enterprise rent a car, Federal Express, McDonald's. It doesn't really matter where you've been, as what you got out of that. I learned so many of my lessons being a Little Caesars crew member as my first job. And I think that everyone should have a job in fast food, if I'm honest. I think that when you begin to talk about your previous work, you need to highlight who you've been and how well you've done in those spaces. So once you've kind of put down your name, your personal information, your summary of your qualifications or your vision statement, your why, you can put down your education and your work experience. Now, you should list as much stuff as possible. Just because it's not been in the last 15 years doesn't mean that you haven't learned and grown from it, and that's not going to be valuable to the company that you're applying for jobs at. You want to put down your achievements and activities. You were an orientation leader. Doesn't matter if you went to high school 30 years ago. Put down that you were the class president, because there's something about that that's still true about you. And just because something's maybe changed, or things have maybe gone awry, or maybe you think that's just too long ago, or that I've changed since then, it's okay. Whatever makes you look and act like a leader and how you've shown up, you want to highlight that. So as you begin to design your resume, and I know that you're going to help not only yourself, but other folks do this, think about, who am I? What are my strengths? It's why we asked you those questions. What kind of challenges have you overcome in the last year? Put down the fact that you have these sets of skills. Use those power words that we just discussed a minute ago, where you can begin to say, I have facilitated conversations with a number of different people from diverse backgrounds. That's a skill. And so maybe that was you in prison being a leader of some kind of group, like Mr. Brown was talking about. But just because you don't have to say, just as Sean said, that was in prison, you can begin to say, I was a facilitator. I initiated conversation. I developed curriculum. How do you begin to talk up what you've already done? Because you've done it well, and you've done it. So you should own it and be able to say, yes, I learned and grew from this situation, and here I am today, ready to turn that into something for your company. And that's going to make you highly employable, when you're confident, not overconfident, but confident about what you've done before and how that's going to make you a leader, then people want to be around you. Companies want to hire you. So I am going to stop sharing this for a moment. That was our little tip and course about resume and cover writing. You're going to want to design one that looks a little something like this. And so when you begin to design it, let us know. We'll print it out for you. We'll help you with it. You can email it over to me, and I can begin to help you think about that. Next Thursday, we'll also have some time. If you'd like to work on your resume, we can do that too. So thanks so much for your attention today. In the email I'll be sending out, you'll find a banking basics guide that Fifth Third sent out to you. There are the decisions that they talked about, the situations and scenarios that you can answer. And then there are different financial plans that you may be getting into, financial goals you want to set, and how to open and checking your savings account that they went over. Ultimately, if you ever are confused about the terms that they have all these common terms down here that you can begin to look up and think about it in alphabetical order. So it's a really short document, 12 pages, and I'll print it out for you to have on Monday. But if you're going through the document, or if you're wanting to begin to work on what they talked about today, you're welcome to use that. I want to say thank you for your time and attention today. I know it's been difficult. So just to recap, Fifth Third Bank is an incredible institution. If you have questions, email me. We're going to get your ACH transfers set up. If you've set up accounts, you need to fill out that paperwork on Monday so that we can get you your money on Thursday or Friday. If you want, we really want to help you get an account set up. So if you haven't already, talk to me. I'll help you talk to Jack Pett and get set up. If you're having any trouble with that, let me know. 4 questions today. 4 questions. And I will begin to put them on the screen, and they'll be in the email as well. The first one is, what are the 3 types of financial institutions? Maria talked about that, and Amy talked about that at the beginning. Dr. Kathy talked about a psychological tool called blank. What is it called? Which is turning a negative situation and seeing it from a new positive perspective. What is this tool called? And then the thing that I want to make sure that you understand is I want to communicate to you that whether I'm going to ask this question of you. Who is most responsible for safety in a workplace with forklifts? Who is most responsible for safety in a forklift situation? And that there's a multiple choice answer. The first one is pedestrians. Second one is forklift operator. And the third one is supervisor. There's a fourth option that says all of the above. Let me know via text or email 937-529-8494. And then finally, the final question that I want you to begin to think about has to do with resume writing. When you begin to think about your resume, what information, what previous experience counts? Just list 1 or 2 things that are from your past that are going to help you in your resume demonstrate that you're a leader and demonstrate that you not only are going to show up for this job, but that you deserve this job, that you're worthy of it, that you're going to do great in it. So the fourth question is, what are some experiences? What are some skills, accomplishments, or awards that you have which will help you build your resume? I'm going to ask you to just list 2. List 2 and tell me why they matter. Those are the 4 questions. What are the 3 types of financial institutions? Dr. Kathy talked about a psychological tool called blank, which is turning a negative situation and seeing it from a new perspective. What's that tool called? Who is most responsible for safety in a forklift situation? Pedestrians, forklift operators, supervisors, or all the above? And 4, what are some experiences, skills, accomplishments, or awards that you have which help you build your resume? List 2 and tell me why they matter. You can text that to me, 937-529-8494, or you can email me, admin, ADMIN, @DaytonEquity.org. Email me those answers and I'll make sure you get paid for the day. Now, thank you so much for your attention. If you have any questions, you can email or call me. But what the biggest thing is that we'll see you on Monday and get ready to apply and interview for these incredible jobs with Procter & Gamble. Thanks so much for your attention in this first week. We know that you've got it. And just like Pastor said, if you get discouraged, if you get worried, if you get to thinking that you can't or you won't, tell the devil to go back to hell where he came from, because we believe in you. Please believe in yourself. Thanks. See you soon.